this. Okay, I think we are live. Did we do it?
Says that it's
Yep,
ready.
we're streaming. Awesome. Sweet. I made it work this morning. Whoop, whoop.
Yay!
All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today live. I'm a little out of my element. I am in an Airbnb instead of my home sweet home because I've got some live transitions right now, too. But this morning, we want to welcome you wherever you are viewing us from. And this is Braveheart Conversations. I am Jillian Aurora, and I'm here in spirit with my co-host, Marie Wallace.
Hi, everybody.
And you can find us live every week, Thursday, even if we are in totally different areas. We do our best to show up every Thursday morning. So you can find us on Facebook. And you can also find any of our previous episodes on iTunes, Spotify, Podbean, all the things. And so this week, let's jump right in and talk about life transitions. That's the big topic today. I think this is something that comes up for a lot of us, and it's been on people's mind. We've had a lot of transition this year in 2020. Yeah. It's been a bit of a heavy year, and there's been a lot happening that we kind of struggle to keep up with sometimes and know how to keep up with change. Change is such a big word, and I remember saying so many times that I wasn't good at change and that I hated it. And that really has changed for me over the years. I don't feel bad at change anymore. I get to embrace change because life is change. And so I want to.
It's inevitable, right? It's inevitable.
And every season is beautiful. And so when I think of it in terms of seasons, it's helpful because I know, like, I'm a big fan of seasons. I would have a hard time living somewhere that didn't have 4 seasons because I love each distinct season. And at the end of each season, I'm usually tired of it, right? I'm usually ready for the next season. We're about ready to head into fall, and I'm so ready. There's a lot of people ready for those pumpkin spice lattes and scarves and all that.
I'm not ready for fall yet. I love fall, but I'm not quite ready.
The summer. No worries. But even when fall is ready to end, I love fall, but I'm also ready for the holidays. And I certainly get sick of winter by the end of winter, and I'm ready for spring, So we get to appreciate more deeply each season because they change. And if I can view life that way as well and see it as a season, then it's very helpful to move through. And I also know when spring ends, I know that spring will come again.
Yeah.
That is helpful also. So Marie, why don't you jump in and tell me your thoughts on life transitions?
I feel like I've always been a person in, with the flow, and change is inevitable. And so I think I learned to embrace that fairly early. And then I look forward to the new possibilities, very much like you said, that the season analogy is a really good one. And you start getting excited and for the new possibilities, the new things that could come with that change. I did see a meme this week that was kind of funny. He goes, I'm really ready for precedented times instead of unprecedented times. Because we have this year gone through quite a bit of change, a lot more than we're used to. and on top of our regular change. And so I think people are feeling that heaviness of it. But there's also in that change a lot of, and very rightly so, because some people have had to deal with even greater things like loss. But it's also a time during those big transitions when I felt most alive with my emotions, even though they were maybe super sad or quite a bit of loss. It was like, oh, boy, I'm really feeling this in a deeper way. And so I get a chance and an opportunity to explore what that is and become more of who I am. And that's just my overall perspective, that change allows me to learn more about who I am. Whereas if there wasn't, I might be closed off, and kind of like you were saying about, well, by the end of, the summer, you're really ready for fall. I wouldn't get those transitions and those new opportunities to look forward to. And so that's, could be a problem. Let me know if you don't hear me. Oh, I need to change something very quickly, okay?
Yeah,
On the volume.
absolutely.
I have, please forgive me.
You're good.
Okay, so you can still hear me. Good, awesome. So that's kind of where I am in a nutshell, that it allows me to expand and grow, kind of the analogy that we always use with plants. You cut off those things that are dying or dead, and so it leaves me room to grow new shoots.
Absolutely. Yeah. So in my coaching experience, the gift that I'm here to give, the purpose that has become very clear to me is moving people through a specific time of transition, which is really the dying phase. It's that the death of a relationship. And it doesn't have to be a romantic relationship. It often is. I often am walking people through divorce or the end of a toxic relationship, but sometimes it's with family members. Sometimes it's from a religion or a job. Like there's all sorts of endings. And people get so attached to what they've had. And it's a really normal human feeling because we get attached to what we love. And it's hard to acknowledge those seasons. We might get really comfortable in springtime, right? And we don't want to let go of spring because spring is wonderful and there's so many
I'm that
beautiful.
way about summer.
I think we get attached to our seasons and we forget that there's so much new life coming, and that there's new and better things in the next season. And I'm often walking people through winter, right? And things often have died, but we're remembering the spring and summer and harvest that we had, right? And we are afraid to let go of that year. We're afraid to let go of all of those good memories and what it was. But we can't usher in the next springtime. We can't usher in the next year without letting go of what was. And so, I love the question, what would happen if you let go of all the things that have already let go of you? Because so many things have already let go of us. They've already informed us over and over and over that they're not a good fit. They've informed us that they don't fit our value system. They've informed us that, we've grown beyond that, whether that's a person or a job or whatever commitment it is. And we hold ourselves there, and we hold ourselves in this stuck position, hoping and waiting that everybody else is going to catch up to us and go in the same direction as us. And that's just not a realistic goal. There's many people that we get to walk with for a season and then let go. And there's no shame in that. That's another thing that I feel like I see a lot of women struggle with is shame. Instead of accepting that seasons and endings are a natural part of life, they judge themselves for those endings because we've really created a taboo around ending relationships and
Right.
divorce because that's bad and wrong and I failed. And no, you didn't. Like, do we fail every time that we have a winter?
Yeah.
Did the earth fail? No, like that's just the natural part of life and seasons.
Well, if you think about a toddler, right, they're learning to walk and they fall a lot, a whole lot while they're learning and learning to walk. And yet we don't call that failure. We celebrate that they, did that attempt and that they made that thing. And the other part, I also believe, so yes, I think a lot in that failure, but I also think that people worry that this dark time will last forever and that there is no sunshine to come, or no next step, or no new sunshine, no new season coming, right? That the winter will last, so in some places it does feel like it lasts forever, but it never really does. But there's no enjoying what's happening now, and I can't imagine in some cases of loss enjoying it, but also feeling all the feelings now. And like I said in the beginning, that allows me to investigate a deeper part of who I am and how I am in that transition. And yeah, sometimes it is the time you feel most alive.
Yeah, and it's an intensely emotional time whenever we go through a transition. There's always a point of unknowing. Like we don't know what's coming, and that can really screw with us, right? That can
Because
screw
we
with
fear the
our,
worst. Yeah.
yeah. So if we're letting go of a relationship, it's like, well, I don't know if I'm going to get anything better. Am
Am I
I
going
going
to
to
be alone the rest of my life?
be?
Yeah.
And 99% of us aren't, or I find women who are alone and they're happy. They're like, I don't want it any other way. So we adapt and we learn more about ourselves through those transitions. um, I think some of those transitions, they literally feel like death. They hurt.
Yeah.
um,
Very
Divorce,
painful.
it hurts. Like sometimes you feel like you're just barely hanging on for dear life, and you're not sure what's coming next. Right now, my partner and I are dealing with a transition because he broke his wrist badly, and he's a massage therapist, so kind of a big deal, big
It's
transition.
a big loss.
It is. And, there's been many moments where I've come up and touched his cast and said, this is the biggest gift and we don't even know it yet. And because we don't know what good is going to come from this.
Right.
He's being forced into a new direction, which can feel uncomfortable, but it can also be the greatest blessing if you choose to take it that way. If you choose to move forward and let it be a leveling up process, a challenging process, instead of taking a victim mindset. This
Right.
to me and this is awful, but this is happening for me and it's assisting me in my growth. And I'm just going to live in curiosity, right? I'm going to live in the curiosity of what this is going to give me because I know it will. And what's helpful for me is looking back at all of the past transitions that I thought were going to be really hard, and seeing all of the silver linings and the miracles that came from
Mhm.
them. That gives me some trust and faith that moving forward, that is that's gonna be consistent, right? The miracles that I've experienced in the past show me that miracles are going to continue to happen in the future. And even now, even in the moment, you can experience the joy and the pleasure, right? So I got a week off of work that was unexpected.
Yeah.
um, I'm sitting in a lovely Airbnb. Actually, this is an old mill house and it's like this historic site and
Oh,
it's super fun. I wouldn't have experienced that. There's certain things that we just get to roll with the adventure of it. And if you stay in that curiosity mindset, then you're able to receive. You're able to receive those adventures and those gifts. But if you stay in the fear of it, then you're gripping on so tightly that you can't even see the gifts that are around you.
well, you miss all the possibilities of what this can bring, because your partner is so brilliant and in so many ways that may not have even been explored yet. I am reminded back to our butterfly metaphor that this is a different aspect where there are some caterpillars that resist breaking out of the cocoon, right? Here's this adventure, like on a whole different level, right? From the ground to the air, that's awaiting the caterpillar, and some of them wait a year. Can you imagine? And in a bug's life, that's a long, long time. All the possibilities that could be awaiting for this caterpillar that has not been available because they're still wanting to be a caterpillar. And while a caterpillar's life is probably pretty cool, you know, you can take things at a slow pace, missing out on all the possibilities of what that flying adventure could bring. Because so I love all the words you're using, the adventure of it all. And yeah, what's next? It's not an easy thing because even that what's next is scary. You know, what if I don't have enough time or money or all the things to fuel my idea, because that's a scary place as well. But then what if you fly? What
Yeah.
if you fly?
And Marie, you reminded me of that. You gave me that message a couple of years ago
Oh,
when
yeah.
I was going through my transition. And I remember you saying, I don't know why I have this message for you, but I'm supposed to tell you, what if you fly?
I forgot about that. Ew, that gave me goosebumps. I forgot about that.
Yeah. But it was so perfect for that timing, and I think many of us do put off our cocoon, right? We are afraid of that process because while it's amazing to be a butterfly, it's also, I'm sure, incredibly tough to crawl into a cocoon and liquefy. Like, that's
Yeah.
not a pleasant experience, I'm sure. I mean, I'm not a butterfly, but like, I'm imagining that's not very pleasant.
No.
Um, but you have to go through that transition in order to be the butterfly. And you're right, like, living as a caterpillar is an okay life, but it's certainly not the same as living as a butterfly. And I know for myself, there were a lot of times that I would put things off, right? I would just say, well, someday when XYZ happens, then I'll do that, then I'll go through the transition.
Yeah.
And I was always waiting for the right environment. Um, and it's such a hoax. It's such a lie. There is no right time. The caterpillar's never going to be like, yeah, this sounds like a good day to liquefy.
We're never ready to liquefy on the inside, right? Oh my gosh, it's torture.
Yeah, and if you don't choose it, then a lot of times the universe will choose it for you, right? Um,
It's going to happen. It's in your DNA.
I know for me and my process, like, um, there were a lot of years of status quo. Things were okay. Things were somewhat comfortable. And then my husband started using again, and things became very uncomfortable and very painful, and I couldn't hide from them or avoid them anymore. And I'm really grateful that I got that nudge, that prompting, because it was too confronting to sit in that and ignore it anymore. So sometimes when we're experiencing extreme discomfort, it's the
Yeah.
biggest gift that we could ever get, because it forces us to take action where we just were stagnant.
Yeah.
And I think it is that, that push to get in the cocoon. Like, it's time now. It's time to be a butterfly, and it's time to fly. And I love um, that right when I was in that period of doubting, because I think when you're in that cocoon, you doubt. You're like,
Yeah.
well, I'm just trusting. I'm liquefied right now. I don't know how this goo is supposed to turn into a butterfly, but I guess we're gonna go for it. And to hear the comfort of, well, what if you fly? Um, sometimes we think we're taking a jump off of a cliff, and we're not sure if we're going to die or if we're going to grow those wings. And it helps so
Or that
much.
someone will catch us at the bottom.
Yeah, what's going to happen? I just took this huge leap of faith. And so to have people in your corner that can remind you that you're going to fly, it's going to be okay. This is the process. And so many people have gone through it too. Like, that's very, very comforting, even in those moments of horrible, uncomfortable
Well,
space.
I think this is a good spot to make sure you have the support you need when that happens, because um, there are so many mentors and coaches and counselors and support people for you in that transition, and to lean into that. It's okay to lean in and get the support you need, because they are the ones that will catch you if you fall. And undoubtedly you'll need them at that extreme. But yeah, even if seeing the safety net is there, right, then you can go, okay, I can take the leap now.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's interesting because the universe doesn't offer us that guarantee. That's what's so hard about transitions. It's not like you get to wait until you're safe and then jump. You just get to have faith that you're going to be okay.
Yep.
You get to have faith that it's going to work out for the best. And it is that faith and curiosity. I wonder what good is going to come from this. I know a miracle is coming. You don't get to know what the miracle is first.
Right.
You don't. And that kind of takes the fun out of it. You get to just
And
know.
the surprise, right? Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And the other thing is, you're not just waiting to be saved. You're not just waiting to be to have those miracles, but you're also learning your own strength and resiliency. I learned so much through my transition about my own strength. I learned that I could do really, really fucking tough things. And I learned I was made out of much tougher stuff than I knew I was. And I learned that I wasn't at the mercy of other people, which I really deep down kind of thought was
Yeah.
that if I didn't have other people supporting me, then I wouldn't really make it. And so there's so much beauty in taking those messy transitions on. And instead of fighting it, just like surrendering to it.
Oh, that's a good word. I think using the pandemic as an example, I saw a lot of people learn, like all the purging that was going on, right? The getting rid of the old things and sending those off, and reprioritizing your life. I think that's been an important gift. Is like, I've been spending all my time on one of mine was a lot of meetings in a row, and I didn't have enough rest time in between, and so I couldn't give the best of myself. So I prioritize, set my intentions for what the new thing is, and then I move into maybe new habits and new ways of being. But it also allowed me great for me personally, allowed me great room for creativity, and found a new passion. And I saw that in people too. It's like, oh, I can do this, whereas before I hadn't had the allowance. And yes, the pandemic brought a lot of tragedy and a lot of very difficult things, but it also brought in ways to do things differently, broke some old systems. And so now we get to create something new and better from that. So that's just one transition that the whole happened worldwide, and you are watching people pivot, musicians going online and collaborating around the world. That one was really cool to watch and see, just finding just new ways of connecting around the world. So it just, as difficult as it was something that did allow us to get rid of some things in our lives that just weren't working, reprioritize our lives, our schedules, our families, all the things that really mattered in our lives, and then allowed us to set something new forward, or even just be in that creative mode to go, oh, I wonder what's next. Leaving room. We ended up having many of us, not all of us, had more time and openings to reconsider what was next.
Yeah, I love that you brought up like just this year, we've just had inevitable changes, right? And they're changes that I think bring a lot of anxiety because
Yeah.
we don't know what's going to happen next, and we don't know if there's changes that we may not agree with or we may not want. And in any kind of big collective change, revolutions that have happened over history, they've been really
Yeah.
uncomfortable and messy. Like,
Yeah.
I mean,
Lots
violent.
of loss.
Yeah, like there is some ugliness that comes out in people. There's some hatred that comes out. There's big mistakes that happen. Um, but again, there is a surrendering in that process instead of fighting. Like, okay, the change is happening. It's happening whether we want it to or not. And whatever the catalyst is, whether it is um, COVID, or it's people protesting, or whatever the catalyst is, or the police shootings, like these are all catalysts for change. And we get to decide what changes are going to happen because of them. We're the ones making the decisions collectively um, to change the course of our history. And we get to embrace that change is good. It really is good. And I've really practiced saying, and I think I have it written on my mirror. I have a lot of things written on my mirror. I will
Me
be
too.
like changing all the things I want to tell myself. But I love change, right? I love change because change brings growth. It is also scary. It also takes courage to face those changes, and we are having to be very courageous right now. And it's really easy to allow our fears to drive us, to
Right.
drive us into loyalty with a certain side. I feel safe if I am XYZ. I feel safe if I'm wearing a mask. I feel safe if I'm, aligning with this group. Those are kind of what I see as how we are coping. Right? Those are easy coping skills to reach for. And I'm not saying not to do those things. Whatever resonates for you is what you need to be doing. I also think we get to think bigger than that as well.
Right.
So, we have a lot of choices. We're being faced with a lot of choices. How will we respond? And we don't get to choose if the change is happening, but we
Right.
always get to choose how we respond to it.
Well, and there's something beyond coping. Coping only lasts so long, right? Before you're needing a bigger change and a bigger um, way of being into the change.
Yes. Yes, I agree.
Do we have some comments?
We do. I'm looking right now. So I'm taking notes. Two things I noticed: being allowed to do telemeetings with doctors, but also
Oh, yeah.
resources being overburdened because of demand, domestic violence hotline,
Yeah.
free legal advocates. Yeah, and this is the messiness that I was talking about. Like the transitions aren't, they're not pleasant. Like sometimes we know systems aren't working, but we allow them to continue. We allow them to continue to in dysfunction because we're afraid of the messiness that happens when they get toppled. And right now, a lot of things that were unsustainable just got toppled. So now we're kind of scrambling to catch up and figure out how we're going to deal with these things. But we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. Just
It
like,
also brings new light to things that people weren't looking at or either were afraid or in denial about, such as the domestic abuse, because I don't think that was looked at fully. And the pandemic brought that out even more and shown a light on the things that happen behind closed doors and well, not not directly what's behind them, but you could see that the rates raised really high, and that this is a glaring problem that we haven't fixed in the past, and we get to and have to and must in order to thrive and grow as a species, right? We just really need some attention to these bigger systems.
It's never comfortable to be confronted with the truth.
No.
And, if we dial this back down to a personal level, when I left my marriage, there were a lot of things that were like, oh shit, how do I do this now? Right? Um, how do I take care of myself? There were secrets that came out that were inevitable. Like I couldn't hide them.
No.
And I think that happens collectively too. And we're in a bit of that tailspin. But again, just like on that personal level, we figure it out, right? We get honest. The secrets come out and we all get to deal with them. And even though they make us uncomfortable, they also help us grow. And I think that we're seeing that collectively on a large scale.
Right.
So I'm grateful for that.
Me too.
I'm going to take a look at some of the other notes. Don't be afraid to engage actively in the metamorphosis. Yes. Enjoy that time in the cocoon. Be proud of yourself when you're in the cocoon, because it's a brave thing to take on that process.
Super brave.
So true. Stagnant. I've been in the cocoon. Really like pump up your warrior in that cocoon, right? I am a fucking warrior. I have decided to embrace this transition, and it's the most brave and courageous thing that I could do. Like, really be proud of yourself for taking that on. Prayers work when our spouse relapse, and that's when we must seek change or be taken down with them. I'm assuming this is referring to a drug or alcohol relapse. So yeah, that's when we must seek change or be taken down with them. So the way that I'm hearing that is like we've talked about earlier today, seasons and knowing when our paths grow apart. You're the only one that knows what you are willing to put up with or not, and what your values are or not. And I know for me, I got really clear about my boundaries. I've had a lot of relationships over my life with people who struggle with addiction. And I love a lot of addicts and alcoholics, but I also chose that in my inner circle, I'm not available for relationships with people who are actively using or drinking. I'm just not available. So it's not that I don't love them, but I can love them from afar where they're not going to be harming me and toxic for me. So yes, I do think that can trigger a change. It's a transition that happens that, like, there's nothing you can do to stop someone from using, absolutely nothing. So, when you're informed of that transition, is that telling you this person is taking a different path and the season now gets to end? You're the only one who gets to decide what those boundaries are and what your values are around that topic. It looks like I can't see all of the topics or the comments, and I'm not sure why. It says there's 8 and I'm only seeing 4, but I'm just going to trust that I have seen the ones that I need to see.
And we will go back later and go into those comments and make sure that we've addressed what you're asking in there.
For sure. This has been just a really amazing topic. I wasn't even sure
where it was going.
I've been a little discombobulated. It was a little bit of a tiring day. Yesterday was surgery day. So yeah, I was like, well, I'm just going to show up and we'll see what comes out of my mouth.
That's what we do. We show up.
That is the biggest piece in the process, I think, for any of us, is just show up. And there's always
don't know what's going to happen, but I'm here, right? It's a perfect process of what we're talking about today.
For sure. Well, Marie, do you have any more closing thoughts on transitions?
Just, I think the main thing for me is just have that open heart and that open mind, and allow some of the blessings and the possibilities to kind of flow through you. Um, I think someone on this said something about enjoying that time in the cocoon. It's hard to know what the word enjoy means, but even at the level of, I wonder, be curious. I wonder what this time will bring. I know something even better is coming, and that this darkness, this liquefied being, is not all there is. I know that there's something more, and I've witnessed other people coming out of this transition, and they've grown even more and past it. And Jillian and I are both examples of what's on the other side, those transitions. And right now I'm just talking about relationships, but we've gotten, we've transitioned our jobs, we've transitioned a lot of things, and we've come out on the other side. And all I can say is you're going to grow and expand and be even more than you thought you could be. I think that's what happens sometimes when we're stuck, is that we forget all the possibilities of expansiveness.
We forget the
And
butterfly.
sometimes we live in our purpose. We end up living more into what we came here to do.
Yes, and that's such a key, as we often will put on the back burner the calling that we know deep down, that's what we really crave doing. But, later, when XYZ
I don't
happens,
have time now.
right now, don't put it off anymore.
Yeah.
And that is the gift of transitions and just willingly jumping in. Um, it's huge. It's really important. And yeah, Marie, I think you're a shining star, and what can happen when you surrender to those transitions. And I am too.
Yeah, you
Um,
are.
an entirely different life today than I did when I was still waiting. I was still waiting for the right time to make the important transitions and let go. Letting go is so key. You cannot build anything new if you don't let go of what is dead and dying. And that's
I'm
hard.
also living proof that you feel that shame in the beginning because of what you said, society norms. And on the other side of that is like, oh, but there's so much more than this, so much more than I thought. So yeah, allowing to feel the feelings, but not to hold on to those things that make whatever that transition or decision is. It's not a wrong thing. It's just a next step.
Yes. Yep. It's the natural next step in our very cyclical lives.
I love that. That's a good place to, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for this beautiful conversation.
Thank you.
And
Even though we're not together at the moment, I feel that we're still close. So thank you for that.
we are. I love that we have this technology and we're all getting better at using it, that we can be so close and yet so far away. Um, so yeah, I'm really grateful for this conversation. I do want to let any of our listeners know we always welcome feedback and questions. And if you have a personal challenge or you want us to address a certain topic, please let us know. We love requests from our listeners. You can privately contact me at defytheaverage@gmail.com. You can also privately contact Marie.
Marie at mariesgold.com, of course.
Yeah, and we love to get any of those questions or comments from you.
We welcome those conversations. So thank you for people that have reached out. It's very important. Thank you for that.
Yeah, we love
Because
it.
if you have the question, others do too.
Absolutely. Yeah, you're not alone in that. You can also join discussions and conversations in past episodes in our Facebook group, which is facebook.com/groups/Braveheart Conversations. And of course, you can find us on Spotify, Podbean, iTunes, all of the places to listen. And with that, we will go ahead and close up. I hope you all have a fantastic week, and
Yes.
we will see you next time.
Bye-bye.